This is the Orioles Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Baltimore Orioles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It was 80 degrees out and wonderful in Baltimore tonight, but the forecast was cloudy with a chance of meatballs. Also cloudy with a chance of what the heck was that? As the Orioles fall to the Cincinnati Reds in Friday's season opener 8-3, the final. Good evening. Thank you for joining me here on this Friday night. I know you could be anywhere else in the world or have many different plans, but thank you for joining me here live on YouTube and on the replay on the Locked On Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts. This is Locked On Orioles and the Locked On Orioles Postcast. My name is Luke Slabaugh. I'm the post-game show host for every single Baltimore Orioles game this year. It is bonus content. Connor Newcomb still runs the main show 5 days a week. So on days like this, you get 2 episodes per day. Thank you for joining me. Again, my name is Luke. Happy to be here, but kind of mad to be talking about an 8-3 loss to the Reds, a team that had been scuffling quite a bit heading into this series. And it seems like, as comments have already pointed out here in the live chat, that the momentum had been lost quite a bit over the last 2 games where we saw progress and a series win over the Cleveland Guardians. Sellout crowd, 42,587 at Camden Yards. Largest non-opening day April crowd at Camden Yards in 10 years, 2015 against the Red Sox. And now it comes down to, can they put together consistent pitching performances? Cade Povich had some good luck thrown his way after a Jorge Mateo error was added to a box score posthumously. So came in with a mid-3s ERA, nearly doubled that in a iffy, short, and altogether lousy outing.
This is what you'll be talking about.
It's open season in the Baltimore Orioles rotation. If your name is not Zach Eflin or Tomoyuki Sagano, watch your 6. Dean Kramer had a good outing last time out. I don't know. And Grayson Rodriguez will probably be joining us in Phase 7 of the MCU. So for right now, it is all about homegrown talent and whoever Mike Elias can bring in if the situation calls for it later this season. Orioles pitchers continue to flail against some of the most unlikely hitters, and we saw that with Cade Povich. Comes up against a Reds team that was middle of the pack in the league in scoring runs, averaging 4.2 a game, but a .213 batting average, worst in the NL, 4th worst in baseball, and even worse against left-handed pitchers. So we'll go to the turning point in this game, and that'll be the top of the 3rd.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
So Povich is cruising through the first 2, 31 pitches through 2 innings, and up and down, but so far, cool. No runs on the board. O's already up 1-0 on a Cedric Mullins home run, which will be lost in the record of this game in the annals of history. Walks the leadoff man, Jose Trevino, 8-hole hitter, perennial backup, won the Platinum Glove a few years ago with the Yankees. Whatever. 1 of 5 walks by Cade Povich tonight. Then a single to Blake Dunn in the 9-hole, gets Matt McClain to strike out on a sweeper low and in. And then, as has been the case with Orioles pitchers, a freak incident or something off script gets in their heads. Pop fly to right fielder Tyler O'Neill, misses the catch, bounces off his glove. However, Jorge Mateo is there, heads up play, collects the ball, throws it to Gunnar Henderson at short, and gets a force out. Dunn is out at second. So there's 2 outs, runners on first and third. Cool. If he even gives up so much as a single and makes it a tie ball game, no harm, no foul. The first pitch he throws in the next at-bat to budding star Elly De La Cruz, hanging curve. Big, juicy breaking ball down the heart of the plate. Big fly off the bat, hit on the back end of the wall in center field, that concrete. So it was ruled a home run on review. A 3-1 ball game after Elly De La Cruz goes yard. And after that, Povich looked rattled. Walked Austin Hayes coming back to Camden Yards. former Orioles outfielder, walks Hayes on four pitches. Excuse me. And then the next inning, it was back to lousy location and no command. Home run to Jamer Candelario made it 4-1. Fastball high at 91. A double to Trevino again in the 8-hole. Walks done. And then Matt McLain, another fastball high, cranked for a 7-1 lead. 2 3-run home runs given up by Cade Povich, and that ain't going to get it done. Lesson we learned, of course, is that walks kill. Would have limited the damage, would not have gotten the O's out of the woods, but would have made it 5-3 ball game, maybe. And yes, Cade Povich's ERA balloons by 3 points. Final line on Cade, 3 1/3, 7 earned runs on 6 hits, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts, and of course, death by meatballs, 3 home runs. Boo Birds were also out in full force. When you got 42,000 of them there in downtown Baltimore, probably doesn't feel good. But they were right to do so. Not just for the walks and the home runs, but also some shoddy defensive play. This was Tyler O'Neill's first game back in the outfield after missing 2 games due to neck discomfort, soreness, what have you. And the 6th inning with Scott Bluett, pronunciation correction from last time out, acquired off of waivers from the Minnesota Twins, who had a pretty good outing, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Top of the 6th, walks McLain, gives up a single, strikes out De La Cruz, and then an Austin Hayes pop-up down the right field line. You get what has happened already in a couple games this season. A Bermuda Triangle formation where O'Neill initially charges in. Ryan Mountcastle has his back turned to home plate, so he is walking pretty much in a straight line at this bad angle, would not be able to catch over the shoulder unless it was a freak superstar play, kind of like what we saw at a Ramon Urias down in Arizona a couple weeks ago. And then Jorge Mateo also bouncing in. He makes the final leap for it, but O'Neill pulls up. Anyone who's played organized ball or has watched a season knows outfielder has the first right of refusal and needs to signal who's going to catch that ball. And it seemed like originally that was O'Neill's to take. Didn't get the greatest jump, but that should still be playable and not one where you overextend yourself. So McLain scores on the ensuing throwing error by Jorge Mateo. He rifles it in and there's no play made whatsoever. We saw that happen last series against Cleveland with no real implications, but that drew a negative reception from the Camden crowd, as it should. When the Orioles have been at their worst, it has been to a lack of plate discipline, but also due to sloppiness in the field and pitching that doesn't know up from down. Oof. We are going to hold off on comments till the very end. I've had back-to-back shows with discrepancies in the graphics, and last night I got into ad copy, so we're not doing that today. We will get into all your comments. I see about 20 of them in the chat right now, and we'll do that after the break. But first, I want you to think about this. Where does improvement start for Baltimore when it comes to left-handed pitchers? Because again, saw a decent amount of pitches against Andrew Abbott tonight, who was excellent. 15 strikeouts for Baltimore. But where does improvement start? How far must tinkering go for manager Brandon Hyde? We're also going to talk about the bullpen performance and what it has done in low leverage situations, Scott Bluett, and Cionel Perez coming back from the shadow realm. All hope is not lost, but again, we are depressed after an 8-3 loss to the Cincinnati Reds. Leaves a bad taste in your mouth here on this Friday. My name is Luke Slaybaugh. Again, thank you for joining me here on the Locked On Orioles postcast. We got a whole lot coming for you. Also, an Orioles Major League debut coming up, an anticipated prospect debut. Got that coming up on the other side. But first, sponsorship. And a big shout out. Ad revenue is huge here at the Locked On Orioles postcast, as I am learning fast. Upwork brings you this show tonight. Scaling your business requires expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, graphic design, and anything you can think of, and they will take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with the top freelance talent. What do you think this is? Maybe it's not talent. All different types of industries: IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands on, detailed oriented people for a project, maybe a long term partner in your business. That's the step to being a millionaire. Own your business, get the right people in there. And Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Instead of hiring full time, Upwork helps you find affordable top tier freelancers to scale any business efficiently. That is huge. Visit Upwork.com right now. Post your job for free. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. What a great deal. One final shout out this time. Man, it's the site made for the skill trades, and it's Supply House. Plumbing, HVAC, electrical work, name it, Supply House has got it. Reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Complete inventory, 200,000 parts and counting. From 400 plus top brands, you're going to find exactly what you need, fast, the best, the GOAT from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert solutions, industry-leading service, and you're always going to talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, they've got this thing called a free Trade Master program. There are exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, get your own concierge, nice, free shipping, discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled pros are already taking advantage of Supply House, and I challenge you to do the same. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's SH5 at supplyhouse.com. All right. Thank you again for joining me here on the Locked On Orioles postcast. Take 3 final at the hands of the Cincinnati Reds. Lefties continue to own the Baltimore Orioles. O's are hitting 199 against Southpaws. It's 22nd in baseball, so the lower third. But this could be fixable, and this could be cool. That's 3 points above the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they're doing okay. The Reds, by the way, worst in the NL, 146 against lefties going into tonight. Cade Povich certainly helped them with that. Brandon Hyde, the manager, has been tinkering with lineups quite a bit, especially when it comes to facing left-handers. I can't help but wonder if this is a monster of their own making, specifically when it comes to lineup changes. The team is in a weird spot right now, near the bottom of the AL East. Yet to see the result of the Tampa Bay Rays game, so they could be in sole possession of last place right now. Choices like Jorge Mateo, who hopefully I did not refer to as Jorge Soler in the first block. It's been a long day. Jorge Mateo, for example, over Jackson Holiday. Confusing, given the series that Jackson had against the Cleveland Guardians, and considering the upside that you have out of your former number 1 overall draft pick. And we were saying the same thing last week for a number 2 overall pick, like Heston Kjerstad in 2020. 4 hits ain't going to get it done on any night. Of course, there was the Cedric Mullins home run that originally put the Orioles up in the second inning, and a late one by Heston Kjerstad, who got the rare start against a lefty and was proven to be the right decision. Someone who was so polarized towards left-handed pitching would be theoretically right to put Ramon Laureano in that spot. But Hyde didn't. He went with Heston. And eventually, yes, Heston had a single against Andrew Abbott, but that was an aberration. Ellie De La Cruz was doing his baby draft thing, moving to his left. More like a gazelle, learning to walk. It was an infield single, probably an error, but Heston gets it. Andrew Abbott carved up the O's. 2 hits, 1 earned run on the Cedric Mullins home run, 1 walk, and 11 strikeouts, 1 shy of his career high. The warning signs of the plate approach were as early as the bottom of the first. A good run-scoring opportunity with Ryan Mountcastle at the plate. Adley Rutschman walks to lead off the game and advances on 2 wild pitches. And Mountcastle gets bamboozled by a changeup, not once, not twice, but thrice in this at-bat against Abbott. Solid RBI opportunity on a 2-0 count, pulls his head and swings and misses at a changeup that was never in the strike zone to begin with. Did the same on the 3-2 pitch. He was in a silly, goofy mood. And with Mountcastle, it's extra frustrating because he is an above-average league hitter. Despite the power numbers going down in years past, hopefully rising with the new left field wall at Camden Yards, there's still going to be some swing and miss to his game. But he's above average by weighted runs created plus, mine and Connor's favorite stat here on the Locked On Orioles podcast. But he's going to make hard contact, and he has. Has someone checked in on Jordan Westberg? He needs a hug. 0 for his last 27. No hits in his last 7 games. In fact, the last time he did was his second to last at-bat in the Sunday, April 6th game at Kansas City. Something is going on there that we're not hearing about. And I don't think, as a comment pointed out last night, that it has to do with his spring training, lower back stiffness type of deal. As adult men, we have all been through this. That just seems like a freak thing that was ironed out over the course of March. But it has reflected in weak contact and uninspiring plate approaches where it doesn't matter where you hit him. First, third, fourth, fifth. Someone please check in on him. Only 3 comeback wins for the Baltimore Orioles, including last night against Cleveland, technically. We had the 2-run home run by Heston Kjerstad in the bottom of the 8th, which was a low leverage spot, but good to see. High fastball at 92 by right-hander Scott Barlow. That is the Scott Barlow that Kansas City Royals fans know and love. Back-to-back nights for Heston and his 3rd of the season hitting home runs. Now, he has gotten a hit in 5 straight starts. 3 home runs all coming during that time frame. One in the Toronto series, one against Cleveland, and now one here against Cincinnati. Improves his average on the season to 261, and he is slugging .500 and even .500. 47 plate appearances here in limited playing time. He has walked once. Is that a cause for concern? Yes. But how is one going to solve this? Not by riding the bench. It's going to come by seeing Major League pitching and then going into film study immediately afterwards. That is why you have that technology down there in the clubhouse to review your at-bats. And the more reps you get, especially in a team that needs to be competing right now, that's how you're going to get through this. So yes, walking 2.13% of the time, not ideal. You know what's less than ideal? Jackson Holliday, 1.8% walk rate. How are they going to fix it? By seeing more pitches. This is a very red-blooded American pound-the-table type of argument, and it smacks of ignorance, I know. But who has the higher upside against Andrew Abbott? Jorge Mateo or Jackson Holliday? I will let you, the heroes at home, decide. Gotta let Heston cook. He has proven that he is an everyday player, at least until Colton Cowser comes back and there's maybe some renaissance in the lineup. But say, for example, that Tyler O'Neill does not find his stride against right-handed pitching. Heston's shown the ability to play a very difficult right field at Camden Yards. I'm just saying. Low leverage situations, however, good for the Baltimore Orioles bullpen to not give up an earned run in relief of Cade Povich. That would have been 8 2/3, not 8 2/3. What am I saying here? 5 2/3 innings. 8 2/3 would have been a long night at Camden Yards. But Scott Bluette led the charge. In fact, tied for the hardest thrown pitch of this game at 96.3, along with Cionel Perez, who also had a scoreless outing. What? Pandemonium, cats and dogs living together? Bedlam, anarchy? But Scott Bluette, of course, acquired off of waivers from the Minnesota Twins in his second Baltimore Orioles outing. Looked pretty darn good. 2 2/3, 4 hits, 4 strikeouts. The one run that came on that Bermuda Triangle play in the ensuing throwing error by Jorge Mateo was corrected to unearned and 1 walk for Bluette. So his ERA now sits at a very crisp 1.00. That is fascinating. Nice to see. 43 pitches for Bluette and 27 strikes. As for tomorrow, well, nowhere to go but up, right? Got to get this train, just keep on rolling, turn this bad boy around. And the Orioles are going to call on a prospect. Right-hander Brandon Young is set to make his major league debut at Camden Yards, going up against right-hander Hunter Green. Talk about a little David versus Goliath going on here. Hunter Green of the Reds, 2-1 this season with a 0.98 ERA. Doesn't walk anybody, strikes out a ton. Can throw up to 100. Maxes out quite a bit. That's a 4:05 first pitch on Masson 2. Brandon Young is ranked the number 19 prospect in the Orioles system, according to MLB Pipeline. He's 26 years old, was also part of that 2020 signing class because the draft was limited to 5 rounds that year. Heston Kjerstad, of course, being their first round pick. Very roundabout way of getting into professional baseball. Started out at Howard College in Texas, a JUCO, then went to UL Lafayette, went undrafted in 2020, and then was signed in free agency by the Orioles. 2.67 ERA and 3 starts, about 16 innings pitched at AAA Norfolk this season. The scouting report on him is that the ceiling is limited. There is no one true out pitch. Who does that remind you of? Pretty much everyone else who's taken the mound for the Orioles this year. Profiles as a swingman, maybe a depth piece, maybe a 5. But may his wonders never cease. People sometimes get lucky, beginner's luck in their major league debuts. I think back to like 2006, guys like Ryan O'Malley pitching against the Houston Astros and throwing 8 shutout innings, 8 1/3, something like that. Maybe the scouting report will be limited. Hard to tell. But that is what you've got on tap. 4:05 first pitch on Masson 2. Final score tonight, the Orioles fall to the Cincinnati Reds 8-3. Let's check in and see. These comments just doubled. Zach James comments, Adley uses a torpedo bat, but no excuses for him. He argues that Adley Rutschman is starting to be a bust. I don't think so. If you're still getting on base at that clip, you've got to. James Reckling on YouTube brings up a great point. As of the live recording of this podcast, which is 10:12 at night, you're welcome, by the way, here on Friday night here on the Orioles Postcast. Happy to be here. No roster move yet has been made. However, there was a point made on the Masson broadcast that there are only about 3 pitchers in the Orioles bullpen that still have options. And I might be butchering this, but I believe they said Keegan Aiken, Yennier Cano, and Felix Bautista. You don't want any of those people going down. So, first of all, having Matt Bowman and Scott Bluette pitch tonight might make that DFA waivers choice honestly more difficult because they both did well. Bowman with a 0.96 ERA and Bluette, who has passed through waivers multiple times in the past without much fanfare, he might be the choice. Baseball, professional sports in general, but baseball is a cruel and unforgiving sport when it comes down to the roster decisions. You would think by having an extra player on the roster rather than 25, now 26 man, you would think that there would be more wiggle room, but unfortunately, this is nuts. Taking a look at some more of your comments here on this Friday night. I want to thank you for joining me here on the Locked On Orioles Postcast. My name is Luke Slayball. Remember that you get 2 episodes per week during the season. So Connor Newcomb does his daily show, and I fill in and do nights, weekends after every single game. Matt on YouTube comments that Povich doesn't have what it takes. If you're asking or if you're looking for something, I would just say consistency, reliability. And that is something that, to be frank, Tomoyuki Sagano is still proving. Zach Eflin has proven in spades. And after that, it's a whole lot of nothing. Steve Plant, a big Arkansas fan, as we have noticed in episodes past, comments that Heston Kjerstad had 2 of the O's 4 hits, single off the left-handed pitcher. Yeah, Ellie De La Cruz doing the baby draft imitation, but hey, it is what it is. With a Woo Pig Suey, I get it. 4 stinking hits. Milo Copeland says, when will my husband, starting pitching, come back from the war injured list? When will Grayson Rodriguez come back? Well, reports today indicated that the Orioles were not completely satisfied with the MRI on Grayson's shoulder. So as I had mentioned earlier, it could be some time. It's going to be rough. I appreciate you all tuning in tonight here on the Locked On Orioles postcast. We're going to wrap things up. Remember, 4:05 first pitch tomorrow on MASN 2. The Baltimore Orioles fall to 8-11 after tonight's 8-3 loss to the Cincinnati Reds. I want to thank you so much for joining, watching here live on YouTube, and listening on the Locked On Orioles podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for watching and listening. Have a great and safe Friday night.